Okay, well, I think we should be good now. Perfect. Yep, it's back. What's up, y'all? Mic test. Yeah. The sound should be going through. Let me know if it's not. Know how your org. This is a good. I think this one's a good topic. New York City will make it mandatory for companies to post salaries on job ads. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, how's it going, man? Um, so my client will be a little bit late to joining us. He'll be here around 8:15. So we got some time to like hang out and chill. Yeah, so I'll be happy to take questions from the crowd. I guess you saw the video that I uploaded today. So if you have any questions about that, oh yeah, if you have any questions about like the video I uploaded today, or you want to chat in general, feel free to drop me a line or ask. In the meantime, I guess we'll just go through like some hacker news articles that are around today. So let's see what we can learn. Um, anyway, I know everyone's. So just to recap, what's going on. So my client got a Google offer. He is basically going to tell us the numbers in about 30 minutes. And you know, I've been working with him for about, I want to say, almost 10 weeks now. He did his 10 or 11 weeks, yeah, almost 3 months. But he did his Google interview like probably 3 weeks to a month ago. And everything ever since then, we've just basically been trying to see if we can get him to an L4 at say like Uber or Facebook. But I think that the only thing left that we have to do, I think he's pretty dead set on Google. But I still want to push him to try and at least do the L4 interviews at Facebook or Uber, and kind of see like how he performs on that based on all the preparation that we've done. So we're going to go over that with him. We're also going to chat about some system design problems that he did. And excuse me. Hopefully he's going to give us a little bit of stuff to work with on how to improve at the system design. Keep in mind, he literally started from nothing. So when is his Uber interview? About the 10th, I think. So yeah, like hopefully we're gonna look at his system design practice. We're gonna look at like how he did and what he can improve on. All the past sessions that we've done are on YouTube, so feel free to go back and watch his progression. But I think he's made some pretty good progression so far. I want to say that if we given a little bit more time, I think he could easily ace the L4 interview, no problem. But for now, I think he's very content with an L3 offer at Google. But for the sake of the stream and for learning from it, we will go over his problem solving and his system design replays. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. Is my health okay? New COVIDs, yeah. So basically, I just have something in my chest. Hold up, I'm gonna get some water. I'll be right back. Hi. Okay, Juan says, hi, Edbert. Did he go from 0 to Google in 10 weeks? Yeah. He is 1 year of experience, or maybe a little bit less than one. But yeah, he basically went from 0 to Google. And I think that if we push it, we can get him the L4 offer as well. And I think this should just prove that I can take anyone and turn them into I can always get them up leveled. So yeah, we started from nothing. You watch the first session actually. That I did with him. He couldn't solve like a single leak code problem. I took him from 0 to getting a extremely high Google offer. Like it literally breaks the bands on levels.fyi. From what I know, I'm gonna let him give you the numbers, and I'm gonna build the suspense. You're gonna be wondering, oh, what's his numbers? What type of offer did he get? Let's actually look at levels.fyi. I'm gonna give you a little bit of taste of what we might be looking at here. So let's look at Google L3, right? So you can see here, like, you have like full stack data, blah, blah, blah. Median is like 197, right? And then 75th percentile is 214. And then in order to be way out here, you're basically talking about like PhD level. So like, for instance, you see here, like in order to get like 350 at the L3 level, you need to be MLAI, distributed backend, have 3-4 years of experience, 5 years. Yeah, there's nothing that's like 1 year of experience. Very few. Like this is 2 years of experience. But this is MLAI, this is mobile, very specific. This is 0, full stack. So you can see here, like, this is like the first data point that we get that's anywhere near what he's talking about. Everyone else is like 2 or 3 years. So yeah, 1 year here, two. You can. My point here is that these are the numbers that we're playing with, and you can see like, and we're gonna like, I'm gonna reveal his offer in about 30 minutes. So you can see here, like, holy shit, we're basically gonna be breaking these bands. 200K plus. Most of them are master's PhD levels. 270, 280. Again, you're gonna have to wait and you're gonna stick around the stream and find out. But basically, these are. I'm just giving you like background information of like what like the levels and the salary ranges are right now. Yeah, 246, 240, like 3 years of experience, 1 year of experience to get 250, but that's distributed back end. You know, I'm basically telling you like this is like what we might be playing with here, or maybe not. We might be breaking these, we might not be. But yeah, I guess in the meantime, if you guys have any questions about like coding interviews yourself, like anything that you guys are doing yourself, anything that I might be able to help you with, just feel free to ask in the chat. In the meantime, I kind of want to go over some of the Hacker News articles while I'm waiting for questions from the crowd. So, let's see. So 800 terabytes for an... Okay, this actually looks interesting. Omicron at 100% in Colorado. Ouch. Okay, Google fined 150 million, whatever. New features, early PC, retro, blah, blah, blah. Decentralized finance. I don't know. I don't like these decentralized finance sort of things. The reason why is because the business model is just completely unproven. I know that people are getting like junior level offers for 3-4 millions in stock options. But the thing is that any kind of shitcoin or coin startup, it remains to be unproven. The only one I can think of is like Coinbase, but they operate completely on arbitrage. So if anything, I don't mind Coinbase as an offer. Let me actually show you something. Okay, yeah. So let's look at Coinbase price action. I think it's gonna be an interesting discussion. So you can see here, like I think they opened at like 240, but then first day they bought up 342, and you can see here they've basically been riding this like trend, but they basically clock out at about 220. I would say 200 is like the fair market price of Coinbase. Now I don't think the business model is necessarily bad. It's all pure arbitrage because their most business model just comes out to getting a fee for every single Bitcoin transaction that exists on the network. But the thing is that they're also tied into the price of Bitcoin itself. So if you like take the book value of Bitcoin of the Coinbase itself, I mean they're gonna add Bitcoin to it, right? But it's always in flux, like as much by 25%. So even if you took out the book value of it, I think you basically end up with like what, $180 to $200 for a fair market price of Coinbase. All right. So Siddharth asks, what are my thoughts working at startup versus big org in terms of career growth for freshies? The one thing I've always said, and I will still continue to say it, when you're a freshman and you're in the first few years of your career, you want to go to a company that has very dedicated engineers who give a shit about their work. More often than not, that's going to be at a place like Google, Facebook, anywhere where you have a team of long-living or longevity people who ultimately care. And if you have any life experience, you'll be able to immediately pick up on these signs, like the way the person talks about their work, the way they talk about how to say here, wait, let me actually switch over to like a full face cam while I'm doing this. Actually, nah, that's fine. But basically, when you talk to someone who's very passionate about what they're doing, you can easily tell like the way they talk about things, the way they present themselves, the way they present their work. These are the people that you want to really seek out when you're first starting out, because they're going to be the ones to teach you how to actually do very well in your career. And these are going to be like the formative years. It's very easy to absorb good habits and bad ones too when you're just starting out. But once you have those habits, it takes twice as long to undo them once you go to like maybe another company or whatever. So my point here is pick a place that is going to invest in your career and that will encourage you to really invest in yourself. Whether that's big company or small company doesn't really matter. What matters is the people that you spend time with. So using elements of programming interview or just focus on lead code. I've written in my guide, elements of programming interview. Lead code is just a smoke check. Don't use lead code. They're not consistent at what's it called, at checking your knowledge or making sure that you have the right answer. Like, their answers to their problems are all over the place, and their thinking is all over the place. So if you just try to copy from multiple sources without having a framework your own, you just end up learning a whole bunch of bad habits and a whole bunch of random answers. You don't actually learn shit. So let me actually give you an example. Let me go to leetcode.com, right? Let me sign into my account. Give me a sec, guys. So let's say, like, let's look at some free problems, right? Fuck. Is there... Do I have to subscribe now? Oh my god, there's no free problems anymore? What the heck? LeetCode, you greedy son of a bitch. Jesus. Alright, alright. Alright, hold up, guys. I'm gonna pay for premium just to unlock this. Christ. Alright, alright. Okay, hold up, hold up. Holy shit. Okay, yeah, so I guess, like, if this was... Can this show me the solution? Okay, so let's just take this random problem, right? Let's look at the solution. God damn it. Wait, it won't... Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. So let's look at this random-ass problem, right? Set medium matrix of zeros. You're given an m by n matrix. I'm just pulling some random-ass problem here. If the element is set 0, set the entire row and column to 0 and return the matrix. You must do this in place. Whatever. This is a pretty easy problem. You know, iterate through all the rows and columns, and once you hit a 0, backtrack and just fill it out, right? Let's look at the solution. So additional memory approach, blah, blah, blah. Entire space efficient approach, algorithm, blah, blah, blah. But my point here is that if you actually... Let's read these, actually. So rather than using additional variables to keep track of rows, we use the matrix itself as indicators, all right? And so you can do this with space efficient. So they basically just describe what the algorithm is, right? But they don't tell you, like, how to think about it. They don't actually tell you, like, how you grow your problem from, like, the additional memory approach into the space efficient solution. So what you're left with is actually just, like, you're memorizing one problem, and then you just go and memorize another solution, right? So there is no way of actually growing your problem-solving approach. So, like, it just says here, hey, you need to have this intuition. Well, where the fuck does this intuition come from, right? Like, how am I supposed to do this again? Like, do I just have to memorize this intuition? And not to mention, like, how do I go from approach 1 to approach 2? This is not how we do the engineering process at all. You don't memorize insights. You just kind of... I mean, you do have some mental models that you use to evaluate problems, but the problem is that here, if you just use LeetCode alone, you just end up memorizing this intuition. And then by proxy of that, you just end up memorizing solutions. Let me actually bust open EPI so I can contrast this. Hold up. Okay, cool. Elements of programming interview, right? Let me pull out a random problem here just for context, right? Random. Let's say find log a subarray with distinct entries. I'm just scrolling to some random problem here, right? Write a program that takes an array and returns the longest length of subarray of properties that where all elements are distinct, right? Blah, blah, blah. So you can see here, like, they begin with a brute force solution. They just describe it. For every subarray, we test if all the elements are distinct using a hash table. And then after that, it says, hey, we can improve the brute force algorithm by noting that if a subarray contains duplicates, every single array containing the subarray will also contain duplicates. Therefore, blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. But you can see here, like, because of this random problem, the way I like about EPI is that they acknowledge the brute force dumb solution, and then they say, hey, here is what is inefficient about it, and here's what we're duplicating. This is really important, because when you go to solve these problems, you're not going to get the efficient solution right off the bat. You're going to start off with the most obvious dumb solution possible, and then you're going to iterate on top of it. This is exactly what we do at work and in the engineering process. We don't try and solve the biggest, most efficient solution right off the bat. We take the naive approach, But then we optimize on that naive approach and then make a V2, a V3, a V4 using what we've learned in the previous iterations. And so this right here, this is the process that you want to learn. So that way you can naturally grow and solve problems rather than just do what you did in LeetCode and memorize a whole bunch of insights and intuitions. Like anyone can come up with some dumb brute force approach, right? And then if they think about what the brute force does inefficiently, they can grow the problem into something better. This is why I like EPI. And notice here that I just picked a random LeetCode problem and the solution and a random problem in EPI, just so I can illustrate my point. So hopefully this explains why I like EPI better than I like LeetCode. LeetCode is just a smoke test. And if you go read the guide in my in the comment section, or not the comment section, but the description, I actually go into this a little bit more in depth, and I lay out a study plan for how you should use these resources. I recommend to you guys Grokking the Coding interview and Elements of Programming interview. Between these two things, you don't need anything else. I'm not even being paid by Grokking to do this. I'm not even being paid by EPI to do this. I'm not shilling these, and I don't get for like money, right? I use these myself. I've used these in every coaching session that I've done. I pull problems from these books, and I give them to my clients. There's no secret here. We don't go in the back room and pull random problems from the company database or someone invents a problem. No. Every single problem that I've asked comes from either LeetCode or from Element Programming interview or Grokking the Coding interview. So, but the thing is that that's why I highly recommend you do EPI. You learn the right framework for solving these problems. You never have to study again. That's why I do this. Is Fang asking a lot of dynamic programming questions a lot? Or do I think Coinbase... So, I'm going to answer that. Do I think... It doesn't matter if they're asking dynamic programming problems or not. You should still know how to do it. It doesn't... It's a stupid question. I'm not going to lie. It's... Because the point here is that dynamic programming, trees, recursion, these are our bread and butter. Why would you want to shortchange yourself? You should know how to do these. Do I think Coinbase is a good company to work for? Fundamentally, no. Let me show you why. So... Actually, this is my bot that I've written to value companies for me. So let me actually show you this. This one is a... Oh wait, oh shit. Looks like my value bot's not working. Hold up, let me go ahead and let me boot up my beta. Maybe that'll work. So this is not financial advice. This is just based on my own intuitions and what I've seen and how I value companies. I could have sworn I had a valuation for Coinbase at some point. Okay, so yeah, let me show you guys. This one's like from 528, so it's an old valuation. So if you look at it, the stock price was like $61 billion, trading at 236. So you can see here, like they do have growing revenue. It's a 4 out of 8 star business. And you can see here, like. These are my calculations. So I assume like they're growing at 33%, 24%, 15%, 6%, and terminal rate of like 2%, right? And you can see here like I calculated. So you can see based on this, like this forward-thinking growth, you can see here that they basically value themselves at 49, right? But if I go to like look at their actual book value and what's going on underneath the hood, you actually end up with a very different picture. So let's open up the Coinbase 10K. So even though like right now we predict revenues are going to be really good. So, and you can do this yourself. I recommend you do this with like any company that is publicly traded that you're looking to, what's it called? Look at. I would recommend you actually look at the 10Ks or like the annual filings. Oh wait, no, they don't have, wait, current reports. I guess let's look at the 8K. I guess 8K would be okay for now. Where is the consolidated? Is this the consolidated? Yeah. So assets. Yeah, let's look at the assets, right? So right now they have like cash and cash equivalents, and I guess this is a little bit of a lesson in how to value companies. So this is the consolidated balance sheet, right, for a particular quarter. So right now you can see here cash and cash equivalents. So it's like whatever is the current assets are things that they can that will convert to cash within a year. These are the highly liquid shit. So you can see here, like, basically out of all these, they have 15 million in the balance sheet, right? And they have crypto assets that are held. So they have, like, almost $800,000 in crypto. So based on this, you can assume that they basically have about, what, 5% in crypto, right? So this can vary at any point between 5 and 25%, right? So let's get a discount of like 25% here. So the book value, let's knock off like $200,000. That's not that much, right? But then you have your liabilities here as well. So if I took the difference here and knock this, you might think, oh great, they have a book value difference of like what, $5 billion. But then that's basically what you can expect crypto to go down by almost. So it's really a book value of $2.5 billion. So if we look at like Coinbase, what's called market cap, right? You can see here they're trading at a market cap of like 50 billion. So on a book value of about like 2 billion, they're trading 50 times that. So that's the first sign. So if for a relatively new company they trade at 50 times their book value, it's kind of pretty bad. But then you also have like another what you have to knock off another half billion here because of goodwill. Goodwill just means, hey, this is your brand value of Coinbase. Like, in what world do we value Coinbase, the brand, at 500 billion? Like, 500 million. I could literally go to any other exchange. I don't count this here. And then you also have the intangibles as well. So let's knock off another, what, 700, 800 billion? So now you're down 1.2 billion. 1.2 billion book value on a market cap of 50 billion. Doesn't really make much sense. Like, I don't understand where this comes from. So you can't trade book value like that. But then you might end up saying, oh, well, you need to check the revenues, right? But then you look at something else like Apple. Apple has like a consistently growing revenue. You don't have that here for Coinbase. It's a young company, relatively unproven. I don't accept that story that you can just trace it on revenue. Let's say like, where's the revenue sheet? It should be actually over year. Okay, so let's look at the revenue operating revenue sheet. 3 months end. Now, let's look at the 9 months end, right? Net revenue, 5.3 from all the shit. And then you have a net income of 2.7 9 months end, right? So you're telling me that on a $2 billion market cap and then $2 billion of $1.1 billion of book value, you're going to value this company at 50 billion? Excuse me? You're trading like what, 20 times earnings? Like, okay, that might be quote unquote fair market value, but the difference between that and any other tech company is the fact that you're tied to something that is very, very risky compared like Bitcoin, right? So you're basically telling me that for all the risk and all the volatility that Bitcoin has, you're valuing it at the same multiple as Apple, which is extremely solid. What world does that make sense? So you can't give it the 28, 30 times multiple that you give tech companies. At best, I'll give it a 10. So I think that's why my calculation here would be like, okay, so let's knock off like, 2 billion for the market cap. That's still 48 billion. I would divide this number by half. So let's say if we want to give it the 15 times multiple compared to 23 times. So it's 15. So let's say like the 47 billion times 15 divided by 23. The price action you should expect is like 30, right? So if it's trading at, let's say 47, let's say 50 divided by 47, no, 47 divided by 50 times 15 times 23 times 234. You end up getting a market price of like 143. This is actually pretty reasonable. This is like what the fair market value is. So that's basically the quick and dirty math. Of course, there's other narratives that you can tell. You can even give it like, let's say you give it the 20 times multiple instead. You get 191. That's if we're being generous. So you can say, you probably join Coinbase if it was trading below 190. That's basically the story I attach to it. You might disagree, but the problem is that I'm assigning a more higher premium and a lower multiple because of the volatility risk. Coinbase has decent financials at its price. I don't know. I don't think so. Like a $50 billion company. What other companies do you know that are $50 billion? So let's go to FinViz, right? I'm going to go to screeners. Let's look at like any market cap that is trading at 10 to 200 billion, right? Sorted by market cap. And then if for the sake of apples to apples, let's go tech, right? Software and tech. Wait, where's software? Okay, software as an application, right? So let's look at anything that's trading at around 50 billion. So you have Workday, you have Autodesk, Atlassian. So Atlassian is trading at 80. So you're telling me that at Coinbase's current price, you think that it's worth almost like a little more than half of Atlassian. I don't know, man. Yeah, see Coinbase right here. Datadog, I don't think anyone knows this. Like, Unity. You think Coinbase is worth more than Unity? Like, you think it's worth more than DocuSign? I don't know. I don't see it. So I don't, you can do this exercise yourself, like Shopify. So you're telling me that you would trade 1/3 of Shopify for Coinbase? That's basically how you have to justify this. Like, you have to look at these different multiples. Okay, into it. You're telling me you trade 1/3 of tax preparation software for Coinbase. What world does that make sense? I don't know. I'd give it 20 billion at best. And that's on a good day. So let's see. Give me your access for premium. I don't know. I don't have a fucking premium, so I can't really tell you. Dusting off EPI. Thanks for the answer. Yeah. I'm not really a politically correct person. Coinbase is similar to Robinhood. Yeah. Where do you think Robinhood stock price, right? Let's look. Oh, wow. Look at this. $15. What was its IPO price? 34. It's trading 50 below its IPO price. So, okay. You want to convert to a Robinhood. You're going to give it a market cap of $13 billion. Okay, thanks for proving my point. I can see Coinbase trading at $13 billion. Sure, why not? And it's going to go down even more. Like, the thing about payment for order flow, it's basically charging a fee on all your orders, right? It's just an arbitrage. It's quote-unquote arbitrage, selling your order to high-frequency firms. And the only difference is that Coinbase is the high-frequency firm, and they are facilitating the transaction with capital. That's the only difference here. So yeah, I mean, I agree with that valuation. Like, but with fucking Robinhood, man? No freaking way. There's no way I would ever, like, value Coinbase at this level here. So I would negotiate for, like, triple or quadruple the industry level fair market value of my job. So in order for me to work for Coinbase, let's say, for instance, I make, $400,000 a year as a senior software engineer, right? And let's say it's divided 50-50 between income and between, like, solid cash and then RSUs, right? If I need to get, like, double or triple this in order to match the fair market value, like, let's say I'm at Uber, or not Uber, but, like, let's say at something fairly traded, like Apple, right? I would need to demand 4 times that. So I would need, like, $800,000 to $1 million worth of Coinbase stock in order for me to make this, like, even just fair market value for Coinbase, right? So let's look at Coinbase jobs, right? Let's see how much they're offering. Oh, let's FYF. Let's look at the compensation bands. So they're saying that medium-wise stock price of 175, right? You guys, and that would mean that you guys are getting fucking ripped off. Anyone who's working at Coinbase and is taking a 175 per year stock grant is getting ripped the fuck off. That you see here, like, I kind of just walked through the whole logic of doing a fair market value of a company and then applied the multiple to the stock grant. It's not that hard, and I think that this is horribly like misunderstood by people. Like, you need to understand what your company is worth, but in order to do that, you need to understand what assets are on the balance sheet, what story you want to tell, and look at the revenue that's coming in. You do that, and then you compare it to, like, another company, the answer becomes very crystal clear. Well, Apple hit $3 trillion market cap. Yeah, the difference is that Apple, like, is fundamentally fucking solid compared to Coinbase. Like, Coinbase fucking is tied to Bitcoin and all these other shit coins that are extremely volatile. Apple, I can count on people buying a goddamn new iPhone every single 3 years, right? I can count on people being absolutely freaking loyal to the brand and to worship the ground that Tim Cook walks on. So if I were to go, like, I don't know, let me pull up value bot Apple. Let me pull up the revenue, right? Let's look here, right? Revenue growth, EBITDA growth, revenue growth correlation, stock buybacks, low debt, really good cash flow to equity, right? I don't care if it's trading at, like, $3 trillion or not. The question is, how much more can I get for that? And market's always forward thinking. So that's, I think, something that people forget. So let's look at this. Between 2012, 2016, in 10 years, they more than doubled their revenue. So over 10 years, that's like what? That's like 8 to 10% year over year, something insane. That's literally the revenue. I can count, based on the past 10 years, I can count on the revenue growing 10% per year. So if we want to do a direct translation, we could say the stock price is going to grow at least 10% per year. Now, you might think the historic multiples are way overblown, like historically they've been trading at like, 9, 10. Now that you're giving a 30 multiple, right? You might think that's too much, right? But then let's break the numbers down. So share buybacks. You can see that they're basically buying back 1% of their share on top of that. Their operating cash flow, fucking fantastic. Double, again. So that's like, you can count on like 10% capital from operating cash flow. Not to mention, most of the cash flow right now is coming from software, so it's no cost. So you actually expect it at minimum 10%, but I would give it like 12% just to account for the fact that there's no operating costs for all this. So yeah, the 10% plus 1% buyback, and then you have like capital expenditures, which they've bumped up every single year. I'm happy with that. And then I don't count the debt, only because they have so much cash on their balance sheet. They can pay off their debt in like, what, 3 years? Let me actually calculate the debt here. Short-term debt, long-term debt, market cap. Yeah, goodwill, intangibles. Yes, let's actually look at the debt payback. Okay, yeah. So it'll take them much longer, but the point here is that they have so much cash on their balance sheets compared to their debt, and I'll bring up the 10K if you guys want, that I don't give a shit about the debt at this point. But the point here is that I can count on it going at least minimum 12% per year, which beats the S&P. S&P grows like what, 9%? So that's why people are paying a multiple over it. Not to mention, there's a lot of headwinds going on for it. Apple Car, you have a lot of software services, you have a bunch of shit going for it. So 12% year over year, paying a 30 multiple when there's no other things in the market, I'm fine with that. Not to mention, like if you look at the S&P contributions this year, like the FANG has been carrying this motherfucker. So that's why everyone's like going over to Apple. And so even though you might look at Apple's stock price, right? And this past year, you might think, holy shit, it went like up like 40, 50%, right? Let's look at this. You think like, oh, 30%, holy shit, it's so much, it's overvalued, blah, 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 $3 trillion, my ass. I honestly don't care. Like, because you can literally count on Apple viewing this year over year. Let's look at the 5-year price action. Fucking 5 times. If you invested like 100,000 here, you'd be worth $500,000 right here. And you can see here, it does it pretty consistently. So let's say like 1.3 raised to the 5th power, right? That should give us that's more than 30% year over year. Holy fuck. I'm late. Yeah. Anyway, don't worry. We'll be bringing my client on in about 1 minute. So you can see here, like it does it pretty consistently. I would say, let's say 35%, right? Yeah. No, actually it's 30% year over year. Yeah, because you add 100 for the multiple. But yeah, you get my point. My point here is that it's not doing this like, holy shit, oh, it's just like a one-time thing. It's been doing this consistently. And really, the consistency is what you really are paying for. There's no premium. There's no premium. Like when you charge something, there's multiple components, right? You have the expected rate of return. Like this is the minimum amount of return I need in order to make my money worth it. You have the inflation premium. So like for instance, like if inflation is 3%, I need to make, and I say I want to beat the market, right? So if I want to invest in something, 10% is my minimum because I could go invest in the S&P. 3% for inflation. Then you have the volatility risk. You have the liquidity risk, and then you have, not volatility, but you have liquidity risk, you have the maturity risk, and I'm treating this like bonds, and then you also have one other fucking thing, which escapes me. Yeah, liquidity, default risk, and then the maturity risk, because the reason why is because when you have maturity, if I need to hold this stock on for like a very, very long time, there's a lot that can go wrong. So I want to make sure that company doesn't, that I'm holding on to it, that for a very long time, I need to get a little bit more for that because otherwise I can go chase another opportunity. I also need the, the default risk. So I want to go for, which means that for really shitty companies, I need a higher rate of return to compensate me for the fact that they might go under one day. But Apple, not likely to go under. So I can forgive a little bit on that. And then you have the liquidity risk. So if this stock is not being well traded, I'm not going to get a good price for my stock. So I need to get a little bit more for that. So you add up all these different percentages. That's what you get for like what you need the investment to return. So easily you start stacking numbers like these for something that's highly liquid, high risk of default, and you need to hold for a long time. You can be looking at 20 to 25% for these growth stocks. Tesla too high. Yeah. I'll discuss that a little bit later, but let's bring my client on right now. Let's talk about his Google offers. Oh, wait, what the heck? Zoom doesn't think I'm the owner. What the hell? Give me a sec, guys.
Recording in progress. Recording stopped.
Hey, Edbert.
Hey, man, what's up?
What's up? How you doing?
Doing good. How about yourself?
Doing fine. Doing fine.
Yeah. How was your New Year's?
It was chill. Didn't really get to do much, but yeah, mostly just spent the time chilling. How about you?
Pretty much the same. Yeah. So I assume you didn't really do much studying for system design or anything like that?
Yeah, like it was just like hard to focus to be honest. But aside from that, like I did do some practice. I actually spent a lot of time actually reading. I guess. I kind of went down a rabbit hole where like I watch a system design video and I'll see like some resources and I'll like start watching them. Like I also watched some couple of videos from QCon. I don't know if you heard about it, but QCon is like one of those like tech conventions where they talk about certain stuff. So it was just like very interesting to like watch those videos. But then when I go back to practice, it's like I feel like I've watched and read a lot, but then it's also like I'm not able to like I guess like bring those knowledge into use effectively when I actually do the problems. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. So I think I dropped like info queue in the Discord chat, and I think that's probably where you found it. But the bottom line with a lot of these talks, like for instance, there's like that Netflix talk about mastering microservices and chaos at scale. You know, for those time to live for those requests in a microservices architecture. That's not going to kick in for you at the L4 level. It's one of those things where once you see how these things work and you get to touch them once or twice, everything is going to click, right? So looking at these is great for getting to the future knowledge, but it's not going to make sense to you today. And the reason why is because you're just 1 year into your career. You barely understand the fundamentals of software engineering. Knowing these systems is great, but applying them is a whole different story. In fact, I don't think that unless you're a technical lead, you will not get those types of questions like, oh, well, how would you handle a TTL problem in a microservices architecture? That's not a thing. What we want to do for you is make sure that you understand the basic things like the load balancers, the databases, and all that stuff, and that you know how to evaluate a system in order to glue those pieces together. Once you start doing that, then you can start diving into those individual components. So for instance, the database. Well, maybe we want to write a new type of database. Well, that means that you need to understand how thread locking works for certain rows in an SQL database. Or maybe in your case, like I mentioned with Netflix, right? You have this software architecture that you built. You're going to run into problems when you have multiple people working on services that are highly used. That's going to be where the problems come in. But you don't get to that point until you actually start understanding how these things all work together. Because, for instance, it makes no sense to hyper-optimize your architecture if you can just simply solve it by throwing more hardware at a problem.
Yeah. Okay. No. So yeah, like they all like videos like that, which are like I would say like you mentioned like irrelevant to what I'm trying to do here. That's why I was also like watching some that I guess are more like closer to what I'm kind of learning. So for example, I watched one where it was which was like scaling Facebook Live videos to a billion users. And this was from 2017, and I guess like this one is more relevant because the guy pretty much talked about like having like edge caches and then like how he would route these to the DC and then like how he would cache them. And this one was definitely more relevant to what I'm trying to do here. So I guess like that these are like the type of videos
Mm-hmm.
that I was watching, and like if they do go into like certain details, I tend not to pay too much attention because like those are definitely like way out of like the things that I need to learn.
Mm-hmm.
But it, like yeah, even then like going back into like practices, like I mentioned, I still like I could eventually like, utilize some of these knowledge, but I think I still am not able to like pull those knowledge out quick
Mm-hmm.
enough. And that's one thing. And I guess the other thing is like certain things from grokking, like I wish they would like kind of go into like everything, but they sometimes don't, and it's like kind of hard for me to validate if my approach was like okay. For example, like when I did the Facebook Messenger problem, like I wish I just sent you on Discord, they talked about replication, but they didn't actually talk about like how they would replicate it. For example, like single leader, multi-leader, or like leaderless. And it's just like hard for me to like kind of validate my approach.
Yeah, I would recommend do some research, but the way I would recommend that you watch these videos is that now that you know what the solution is, work backwards. Start with like the naive way that you would have done it, and then see how they did it, and then figure out the steps in between. So what kind of problems were they running? So let me give you an example. There was this talk for like Instagram caching. Let me actually, I can send you the video actually. Yeah, hold up.
Okay.
Caching. Yeah, scaling Instagram structure. Actually, and I would highly recommend it.
Is it the one that's from the scaling is it from 2017 as well, July?
Yep, that's the one. I like this one, I think, because I'm pretty sure this is the one.
Yeah, I watched like half of it. I'm like half of it because I was like trying to take notes as they go through about it.
Is this
Yeah.
the developer one? Or no. This might not be the one. It was another Instagram one, but it's like talking about like caching and stuff and distribute and like a replication or something like that. I know. Anyway, the point is that think about how you would have done it compared to how they did it, and then be able to try and describe the steps in between. Those steps in between is what I want you to focus on, because remember how we said last week you had this issue of trying to do everything at once?
Yeah.
I want you to think about things in discrete steps. You know, you start off with a very basic naive solution, and then you think about the problems that you run into, and then you solve each problem one at a time. And you start thinking about like how you get to from where you are to where they are. What problems do they encounter? How do they try to tackle before? Why did this work? Why did this not work? We want to copy the framework, not necessarily the answer that they got. And that's really what I want you to like try to what's it called, like really focus on. It's those steps, because that will help you. Because once you do that, you'll make it a habit of like applying that to an actual system design interview. That's gonna pay off more than anything.
Okay. Yeah, I guess like I'm still like not very like efficient at doing that, just because I feel like with system design, it's not as straightforward as like reverse engineering a coding problem. So like I feel like I'm still kind of learning how to do that effectively.
I see. Yeah, no. I totally understand where you're coming from. And I think that one of the biggest issues is really trying to understand what discrete means. So the bottom line is that discrete just means, hey, it's one idea, an idea only. I don't need to, and I can solve it with one solution. I'm gonna not run into anything else, and it's not very likely that I will run into other problems stemming from that, right? So for instance, let me give you an example. So for instance, that the problem that you did the other day, right? It was design real-time light counter system, right? And you tried to combine the idea of, oh, what happens if there's malicious users into an idea of database. No. That is a responsibility for the services. That's a responsibility of the software that we're writing, right? Because the database, what's the database responsible for? Storing and representing what the likes themselves and the posts. The services themselves are responsible for acting on that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's single responsibility principle right there applied to a scale. But yeah, before we dive into that, I kind of want to go over your Google numbers actually.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So go ahead. Read off. Did you talk with him, or the numbers still the same?
Yeah. They gave me a call this morning, and then I told them I'll get back to them. So I haven't heard back from them because they did mention they're gonna go back to the compensation team and get back to me once they find more updates. But basically, the numbers they gave me were base of like 150K, and then like equity would be 150 as well. But Google is front loaded, meaning I'll get like 33%, 33, 22 and then 12% over the course of 4 years. Sign-on is 23, and they also have a bonus. It's a sliding scale, depending on your performance, but the base is going to be 15 if you don't screw up anything. Like you're going to get a 15% bonus, and at the end of the year, so that including the bonus, it would come out to be like 245. K for the first year. If we exclude the bonus, I believe it's somewhere around like 222.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And I basically told them like, hey, like, because we talked over the phone, and he also mentioned that the base is going to be hard to negotiate, but there should be some flexibility around the equity and sign on. So I just asked like and see if he could get equity up to like 200 and sign on to like 30. So he's going back to the comp team with that request. On the other side, I also met with another hiring manager from AWS just to chat. Because it was kind of weird because the recruiter initially mentioned that, there won't be necessarily like a team matching. Like she just assigned me to a team, and like the initial team was fine. But apparently like she introduced me to this other hiring manager, and then when I met, it turns out that the hiring manager saw my profile, and he really wanted me to join this team, and so he decided to chat. He mentioned like because I didn't get much feedback from the recruiter herself about my interview feedback, except for that it was positive. But the hiring manager actually told me like he ran through the interviewers' feedback, and he said like feedback was very good. They all leveled me at like a very high L3 because I didn't do system design, but that's basically why he like wanted to meet with me. And I told my AWS recruiter that the numbers from Google, and so I'm hoping they could like bump it up a little, and I could maybe go back to Google and say like, hey, Amazon has this number now. Could you like bump it up even more?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I would say like I flinched when you said, oh, you gave 200 as a ballpark. Like, the reason why that's a bad move is because, well, now he's going to be thinking, well, if you're negotiating in good faith, then you should accept 200K, right? Because you asked for it. That's the problem here. I would have actually tried running to Amazon or somewhere else as with the Google numbers, gotten the Amazon numbers, and then bumped up that Amazon number by 10, 15%, and then ran back with Google. Because what you're doing right now with suggesting 200K is saying, hey, well, if you accept 200K, then I'm negotiating in good faith, and I'll sign on at 200K if they approve, It's like you kind of went in and just kind of like shot a maybe, but then it's gonna cost you some goodwill because the interviewer is assuming that you're negotiating in good faith, that like, oh yeah, you're gonna accept 200K if we offer it to you. But the fact is that we're trying, like, if that's the case, then okay, then you better sign on the dotted line, because otherwise you burn your goodwill by like reneging that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I would have been very careful about that. But if you're happy with 200K, I got nothing against it.
If they, because honestly, if they're able to meet that 230 sign I would be like okay with signing. That's basically like the number I gave them, because like my initial request was like 240. But realistically, I don't think like they would hit it, so I just like went with 200.
Okay.
Knowing that they would come back with like maybe say like 170, 180, and then I would like kind of push it for a little more. That was kind of like the plan. I
mean, you could also come at them with you give me 200, I sign today, if that you were really feeling that. But I would have I mentioned before, you have a deadline of the 17th. It doesn't make sense to burn the remaining 12 days that we have, just to sign it, because there's no difference between signing today and there's no difference between signing in 10 days.
Yeah, I guess that's true, but also just like part of me just like wants to kind of get done with this soon. Realistically, like 17 is the deadline, but I'm hoping to like get it done as soon as possible because I kind of need to book a flight back home, and that's why I'm like trying to get everything done and wrapped up.
I get that, but I think this also speaks like a good lesson as well. I think not just for coding interviews, but engineering in general. When you put a time constraint on things like this, you get pressured into making suboptimal decisions. I do think this is suboptimal. Granted, it's not bad because the downside, we're basically just talking about like an extra 10K per year, which is nothing, But I think it's a lesson worth learning, at least a life lesson worth learning, that if you put yourself under the gun like this and you put artificial constraints on a decision, you will make mistakes. So it's like I said, it's just a learning thing. Yeah.
Looking back, I definitely would have kind of done things differently. But like you said, it's just a lesson learned.
Lesson learned, and it's gonna pay in dividends later on in your career, I think. But I'm
Yeah.
very happy to hear that Amazon said that you got very positive feedback and that enough that the hiring manager actually wanted to meet with you. That doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
Did,
Yeah, because I never heard about like, hiring managers wanting to meet from their side.
what was the? I'm very curious because I want to know not just like the interviewer's feedback if they could give it to you explicitly, but like what was their impression of you? Because more often than not, a lot of the times when it comes right down to it, for like not just for team matching, but for like your career, it boils down to what kind of presence that you give them and how they feel about you. How did you feel about that meeting?
Like, you mean the hiring manager or?
Yeah, what would you talk with the hiring manager? Did you feel like you clicked? Did you feel like his expectations and his wants aligned with yours?
Yeah, I guess, but we also didn't really like talk that much. I was mainly asking about like it was more like a get to know you like kind of thing and like knowing the team. So I mainly asked like important questions like, oh, like what's the team history, like team structure, like what's the roadmap, who I'll be working with, like team composition in terms of like levels. But like in terms of like compatibility, yeah, I think like manager was like pretty chill, and we did also talk about promotions, and because he mentioned like what he got from the interviewers were that I'm pretty much like L3 but like operating at like low L4 level, and so like he's like confident like we also do promotion cycles in every quarter. So he also did mention like if I do pick things up quickly and everything seems to go well, we could promote like a lot quicker as well. But I'm not quite sure like what you mean by like what you're trying to ask for.
The reason why is because, well, it's mostly just one's curiosity because because like when you told me that you were pretty much L3 but you're operating in L4, that was a very good signal. That means you basically scored almost perfect. That's
Yeah.
basically what I was trying to ask. And not to mention because the hiring manager is going to treat you a certain way based on the
Yeah.
initial first impression that you get, or in this case from the interviewer feedback, right?
Hmm.
So that's what I was really trying to feel out, like trying to make sure that the hiring manager was giving you the right level of respect for what you were doing. So either way, I think that puts my mind to ease. But also, like, keep in mind that you might say no to this guy in the future, like right now, but you will cross paths eventually with these people in your career, and it's good to have these people in your corner. At least add them on LinkedIn if you clicked with them, you know.
Yeah. I actually plan to like even send out a note, like an email as well. Like even if I do like take Google's, which is highly likely.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it was just like nice meeting him, and it did seem like he was excited to have me join his team. And yeah, he it was pretty clear. Like I guess it wasn't like explicitly said, but it was kind of like hinted that he sees me as like incoming like L4 or like yeah kind of engineer.
Makes sense. I hope that the Google Manager gave you the exact same feedback or thoughts.
Yeah, the I was talking to my recruiter, and I met with the hiring manager, and we actually had a pretty long like talk. I would say like when I met with the Google manager, we talked for like about like 45 minutes, even though the meeting was only scheduled for 30 minutes. And I did kind of explain to him like my current situation at Facebook, but he didn't I didn't really get like what he was leveling me at. But then when I was talking to a recruiter, he did mention like a couple times that the manager told him that he thinks that I would get promoted pretty quickly. He feels pretty strongly about that. He told that to the recruiter, didn't tell me that personally.
Okay. So we got positive signal across the board. Everyone thinks that you're an L4 from Google to Amazon. But definitely for me, at least from I don't know how you feel, I want the L4 offer in hand, even if I never take it, just to prove that hey, it's not just all talk. So
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know how you feel like.
I personally I feel like even working at Facebook right now, I feel like I'm definitely like low L4, but like in terms of like operating, yeah, but like when it comes to system design, I don't have like a very good confidence of saying like, oh, I would for sure nail a system design interview.
Okay, yeah. So let's go ahead and with that, let's actually switch over to Excalibur. I'm thinking that do you still want to like at least go for the Uber one on the 10th just to wrap things up?
Yeah, I feel like part of me is like really like pushing myself to say like, hey, you know what, let's just not do this. Like, what's the point? But then the other part of me is like, you know what, like we're already at this point, like it's already like this deep into it, we might as well do it.
Right, like don't get me wrong. Like as far as like our contract goes, it's only off of the one that you accept. Even if you get like a $350,000 offer from Uber, I would never ask you to take it if you didn't feel like this was right for you. So this is more just for an ego sake for me, but I don't want to push you in this direction if you don't feel the same way.
Yeah, like honestly, I would say like 60% of me like is not feeling like doing it, but then like 40% is like, you know what, you should just do it just because like I'm already at this stage and it doesn't hurt to do it.
It's what, in 4 days it'll all be over, and once you walk with that L4 offer, you know you'll have confidence in the future. Hey, I can get it here. I can get it anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, and plus it unlocks a lot of doors too as well, because you know like what happens if things don't work out at Google? You can just say, hey, well, I still have that L4 offer. You still want to hire me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a lot of upside for very little downside. Just four more days, man. But yeah, you know what? When this is all over, if you get the L4 offer, let me know. I'll take you out to dinner, man.
For sure. Hopefully that's the case.
All right. Yeah. So 4 days. You know, let's give it our all. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So you decided to do the Dropbox problem. Okay.
No, Dropbox was the one I did the last time. If you scroll up,
yeah.
It's the Messenger because I don't have the paid version. So I just put everything in the same.
Okay, so you did Facebook Messenger, designed Facebook Messenger, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So let me share my screen so I can at least talk through what I'm doing here. Okay. So let's start with the functional requirements. Users can have one-on-one conversations. Users can send text messages, photos, online. I would have also added group chat as well. But I'm okay with this.
I put group chat in like the considerations, or like I guess you can say extended. Ones.
Perfect. Okay, that's fine. You scoped it out yourself. As long as you acknowledge it was there, I'm happy with that. No problem. And so yes, photos, videos, online, using COs online, and yeah, we will not send push notifications regarding new ways to offline users for now. Eventually you do want to have that push notification in there. I think it's pretty important. I guess consideration for now. I mean, if you're doing an actual interview, you can just table that discussion and hook it in later. So overall, your opening for your functional is actually fine. Because highly consistent, we want to be as available as possible, but we'll go with consistent over availability. Why did you choose C over A? Let me ask that.
Mainly just because like when we do messages, we do want like messages in a conversation to be like consistent across the board. If that makes sense.
You want things to be available, or you want things to be consistent? Let me ask that. I'm not saying either one's right or wrong. My question is that.
Initially, like I went with like, you know what, I want it to be like highly available. But then when I gave it more thought, it's like availability is definitely like a high like priority here. But then like it would be very confusing if users see like different sequences of messages, or like, you know, conversations that are not consistent across like different devices. Like that would kind of defeat the whole purpose of like a chatting app.
I see. So you mean like if on the Android, like I've logged into two places, but a message shows up on my iPhone, but not like my desktop.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing. And then the second thing is like user A sees like message A before message B, but user B sees it the other way. But yeah, like the use case you just mentioned is applicable as well.
Okay, that's fine. As long as you can describe that situation, I think that is okay. I don't necessarily agree with it, but as long as your reasoning is right, then it's fine. But, I mean, it's an iffy one, but I can see why you might consider it. I think this is the point in the interview. The interviewer would have at least told you to use A or C, but I personally would have leaned towards A. Again, the question is your reasoning behind it. So if you thought it out and you said what the user is willing to accept versus not accept, then I think that's okay. Low latency, yes. Message should be lost, yes. Scalable. Scalable, sure. When you say low latency, I think I would have also said something like, how long am I willing to wait to get a message? Like if a user sends it.
Actually define the number.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. Good. You are ahead of me. That's good. 500 million daily active users. Okay. A little low. Yeah, that's fine. 20 minutes per day. Yeah. bytes, 100 bytes per message. Good. I like the 5, 2, and 10s. Great. 1 terabyte messages per day. Store them 10 years. 400 days. Rounding up to 400 days. Fair enough. I like this. 400 days. Easy. 4 petabytes. We can save them 5 petabytes for 10 years. Great. Okay. Your opening is good. I don't think that there's a lot of issue here. When you said you compare with grokking, considerations are arguably the same. Estimations, daily active user, number of space are roughly the same. I didn't consider bandwidth usage. Yeah, I think that's something that, I mean, you have 10 billion new messages per day, and then you're 1 terabyte per day. You could just divide by, like, the number 24 hours, number of minutes, seconds. But I think it's pretty self-evident that with the volume of messages that are going back and forth, that would be your pain point.
Yeah.
Have it explicitly. Okay. I think that was self-evident to you based on like what we just talked about.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I have no problem.
I was actually surprised. Actually, grokking picked consistency over availability as well.
Okay, grokking picked that. Okay. Interesting.
I guess their reasoning is that users should be able to see the same chat history on all of their devices.
Oh. Yeah. Okay, I see. Could be weird because if we're talking about like 2-3 different things. Wait, you know that freaking meme of like some dude is like sending messages. It's like this didn't send, this didn't send, and then eventually. And then it's like eventually it sends the wrong one. Fuck. And then
the worst one, yeah.
Yeah, and then the worst one shows up. So, I think that's a great way to convey it. It's like just with a meme like that. So I'm okay with that. I think that's fine. If you can describe that meme, I think that's a great way to convey the meaning. So let's see. Let's look at high level design. So you have your mobile, cool. I don't care. Yeah, API, CDN, object store, and okay. This is a simple one. It's clear that this won't scale, but serves our simple purpose well. Pain points, good. We are going to retrieve questions for new. Yeah, simply HTTP get. Pull every few seconds can work. Set chatting. This can overload servers. Frequency to 500 milliseconds. Okay, so you have a frequency of 500 milliseconds, right? And you have, that means that every single 500 milliseconds, a user is going to hit your server. The problem is that, well, it depends on how long you have 500 million daily active users and times number of sessions, right?
Yeah, and so my reasoning, I didn't really go much into detail here because I feel like the explanation was not necessary, but basically like we want to make it as seamless as possible. And like even with 500 milliseconds, it could still feel like a lag when you're chatting with someone. And so like it's just not scalable for us to kind of have the users pull or send a request every like say 10 milliseconds or like some low frequency that's just going to hit our servers and database like consistently, and it's going to crash.
Yeah, basically my point here is that if you choose to do this, you're railing the system.
Yeah. So
it's kind of hard here. So this is like at least what your pain point is. Simple get pull requests can work. How we treat trap of users active. How often should client pull this information? Yeah. I would say the best way to solve this right off the top of my head is to whenever chat window is open, and like with a particular person, you hold a connection there, and then you release it whenever you go back to the main screen.
Yeah, that's what I do. So on the left side is like my explanation for like how I do messaging. The pain point was just kind of me listing like, oh, what can we actually do? And that's why I mentioned like simple use cases. Just we do a HTTP GET request, but then that wouldn't scale even if we do it like 500 milliseconds.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, that's fine. So then you said go with hybrid for user online. I think this is fair. With that, create a WebSocket connection for as long as the user is active. Good. User creates a own user ID, then maintain the connection. We use consistent hash here to add a new server, to maintain separate cache, user specific. Same message, we can persist them to disk, but then observers send them back out. This will get a lot of database. Relational database will not support this kind of volume for small updates. You might. This is a hard statement to justify. When you say MySQL will not be able to support this kind of volume transactions.
So that's interesting. That's actually, so the reason why I went with that is I was actually reading on an article I guess like 1 or 2 weeks ago around like how Facebook used to do Messenger, and I guess like they don't use it anymore, but they actually used to use a HBase for like their Facebook Messenger in like I would say like maybe 2005 to like 2008 or something, or like in the early days they used to use a HBase for storing the messages. And I remember like somewhere in the article it mentioned that they picked it just because like it was it was quick for like small updates like these, and that's kind of where I went with this. But like in my like reflection that you will see later, I did kind of mention that I would not be able to justify as much if the interviewer were to prompt me here, because I feel like I do have like some limited knowledge around here.
I mean, you can. I guess I like the direction you're heading in, but again, this sets you up for a very weird situation. Because now you have to justify. Oh well, now you go with a NoSQL or no schema database like HDBase or Cassandra. Well, you can't guarantee ACID transactions, which contradict your assumption of hey, we don't want to lose any messages. That's kind of like the trade-off here, and that you need to start defending that. And yeah, where that it opens. It's a little bit slippery slope.
Okay.
It's not the end of the world, but it puts you in a very weird situation. That's what I'm gonna say.
Okay.
Monitoring increasing message IDs, sure. Message user, mark the user as active, broadcast information, open friends. Okay, yeah. Like if you have a user service and then you want to update the user information every single time they send something, you refresh that user status for X number of minutes. But then you end up, constantly refreshing them, putting them. You might want to have this goes to the cache. Okay, great. Okay, user sent a conclusion. I think your conclusion for the connection is actually fine. I have no problem with what your logic and reasoning was here, actually.
Okay.
I don't. Okay, so then now you have message service, pipeline.
Yeah. So the red lines are the right path,
Okay.
and then I guess like the black ones are just like for whatever else, and mostly reading. So you can see that if a write comes in, we send it to pipeline, which will write to the object storage, the white column, which is going to be messages, and then the metadata databases, and then for reading, we'll have caches and CDNs in front of them. But yeah, user service is where I'm going to handle also like marking a users online. But then if it has been more than like I guess 3 to 5 minutes, depending on like what we want to set the timeout as, we can just mark the users offline.
Okay, that's fine. What I would have done here with the pipeline is actually delegate to the services instead of hitting the databases directly. The services could unless you're using marking services as purely for the get.
Sorry, say that again.
So you have this pipeline here, right?
Yeah.
The thing is that you're piping to the message service. So this is like someone user sending it. They're gonna say upload this object store, upload to messages users. Now the thing is that you want to notify the other user that hey, this message is ready to be consumed by y'all.
So yeah, that's where it goes back to the message service.
Oh wait, you only drew one line here though.
Oh, so I would notify it after I store it in so my reasoning was that I would store it in the data stores, and then from there we would then trigger it to the message service.
I need to see that line because otherwise it doesn't exist. This implies because right now the way you've like drawn it, it implies that hey, we're gonna put something in the pipeline, then let the user know hey, it's ready, even though it might be like in queue and like about to write to object store, message, and user database. It's not immediately clear from this diagram.
So based on my current one is that I won't notify the user until it's actually stored in the data store.
Right.
So back in my explanation, I did mention that we could have like observers or like observers to kind of observe like certain updates in the database, and based on like conversation ID, we know what users do update, and then that's why the lines for the black lines are bidirectional, because the databases would also let the services know that hey, we need to notify these users that new messages are available.
Okay, I see. I mean that's okay. Yeah. All right. Other than that, like conversation ID, user IDs. Okay, yeah. You're gonna list every single user ID that's in the conversation, created time. Yeah, basically who owned. Yeah. I guess since your scope is only to one person.
Yes.
That's fine.
User IDs here is an array, and if we do groups, we can just group. We can basically just list all the user IDs in that conversation.
I see. Okay. It makes your query a little weird because now you have the query for elements in an array. I mean, I understand what you're doing here. I understand why, because usually you start off with like. I wouldn't say array. I would actually try to just use user ID 1, user ID 2 for the conversation.
And so if we were to, I kind of did this in consideration of like when we want to do groups. because like if we went with that, then does that mean like if we do support group, we would just have a user ID like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and it could.
Yeah, that's probably what would happen. And then Facebook would say, hey, there's a limited number of users that you can add to the messenger group. I think that's also a fair limitation.
Yeah, I think they do like 200 or 50. I forgot.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then that would just mean that they have an additional 258 columns.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the way to do it. So I disagree a little bit with the array because it's a little bit weird for scaling. I also would add a last message time, and then now that would get into the whole, oh yeah, well, how do you update this last message time, and then just gets to the real time light counter problem.
Okay.
But yeah, overall, I think that your reasoning is actually okay. Durability, replicate, strong consistency. I think your reasoning is okay. I don't see any red flags. How long did it take for you to do this, by the way?
I guess like it took me like an hour just like with all the typing. Because it's not like doing an actual interview where I could just like talk about everything. I have to type everything out, so it took a little time. Yeah, it took about an hour.
That's fine. I actually don't mind that because if you can have this conversation, it's going to take you like 45 minutes to 35 to 45 minutes anyway. So, yeah. So I don't mind what you're doing here. Replication, I would then have to ask you, well, what is your replication policy? Like, is it going to be multi-leader? But then you kind of touched on that as well. I wouldn't want you to pick one and then try to justify it. So in this case, because you're going to be read heavy over write heavy, I probably would have done like single leader multi follower.
Wait, did I not say single leader?
Did you not?
I think I did.
A single writer, multiple synchronous replica. Okay.
Yeah.
And caching. Yeah, I would have been a little bit more explicit. Other than that, it's this just me being nitpicky.
Okay.
Hot users. The hot users thing, I understand like why you thought this. Like, oh, we've seen this every single time with social media, but for private chats, I don't know. This implies that you assume that there's going to be a disproportionate number of people who are sending a lot of the messages to a bunch of other people who don't respond or don't talk a lot. You know, I think it's hard to justify that.
Okay.
You would have to explicitly make that, and I think there's a very hard jump in logic for behavior.
Okay. Yeah, I guess it makes sense. I was just kind of thinking of like doing like conversations because I think of conversations of like they kind of start and die. Oh yeah, they kind of start and die like pretty frequently. Like some conversations do go on pretty long, but then they usually have gaps, and that's kind of where I went with conversations. Actually, like I was kind of surprised that when I looked into grokking, they actually didn't mention anything about like conversations. They mainly just talked about users and messages, and so they decided to partition over user ID.
Okay. I mean that's kind of like their solution. But as long as your reasoning is like there, I think you can't go too wrong. But let's see. Architecture relatively the same. Yeah. I'm gonna let me look at it really quickly. I think that I don't remember Grokking came up with that, but yeah. So let's see here. Yeah. So yours is here. Let me zoom out. Oh, hold up. Yeah, so yours is here, and then theirs is here.
This is the detailed one. The high level one is above.
You mean for them or for us?
For them. It should be under like section 4 for them.
High level design. Okay, chat server, data store. Yeah, you pretty much end up with the same thing for the high level design. That's fine.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, store database, match set, acknowledged. Yeah, so this is kind of like what I'm mentioning with the pipeline, and drawing the line back. You basically talked me through this flow anyway.
Okay.
And then yeah, for your here, yeah, I think that's fine. Although I don't know why. Wait, now that I think about it, why is this cache here?
For like getting messages, I like so in I guess like this requires talking. I guess in like most cases for now, like one-on-one conversations just don't really quite make sense. But I kind of put it there in case like when we do expand it to group messages, and the group has like say 200 users, 200 users will be getting like the same messages when someone sends a new message, and that's why I put a cache there.
I see. Okay, I would have put either way the cache goes behind the load balancer because you have different servers. And I mean, like, if you get routed to a different server, it doesn't have a cache. Eventually, if the chat is active enough, all the servers will have the messages or the conversation in the cache. The question then becomes like, what do you put in the cache and blah blah blah.
Okay.
But yeah, I guess that's the small difference that I would have noticed there. Reasoning for the queue is to help ensure order of message. Entirely increasing. Okay. Object store for videos. Grokking does not. I think you're better off being more detailed. I'm okay with this. Database for metadata. Fine. Load balancing. Partitioning. We have addressed the issue of partitioning with method IDs. Grokking goes with user IDs. Yeah, I mean, that's fine. Issue user message grow. Yeah, I agree with you there, actually. I probably would have done what you did there. Overall, functionality-wise, I think you did fine. Differences. Yeah. Fundamentally the same. Replication choices. Yeah, flow sending messages and then broadcast status. I think the fact that you kind of blocked out push in the considerations, it helped you, but then when it came time to, there's some few glaring problems, like with the notifying the other user, right? The fact that you just kind of tabled that discussion also hurt you as well. At some point when even though you might say, we're not going to consider it for now, if the problem is like so fucking big and it's so obvious that you need to handle it or you can handle it, you might as well just bring it out of the considerations and bring it to the table.
Okay.
So other than that, I'm not displeased at it. I think if you can keep practicing like this over the weekend, you'll do fine in the interviews.
Okay. Yeah, it's just like I just sometimes need time to kind of go through these. I think that's what I still have to work on, like getting quicker at a lot of these. Like especially the step where you mentioned about like making a decision and then immediately knowing what to address next.
Mm-hmm. Right, but that's gonna come with practice, right? So do what you can. I'm gonna say keep practicing like this. I think this is very good. Like you said, you took an hour, but you got pretty close to the solution, and with pretty similar underlying considerations. So actually, I think this is a very good sign. It just means you're doing the right thing. You just need more practice with it. So
yeah, I guess it's just like I don't feel confident just because I get pretty nitpicky about stuff.
That's fine.
And it just feels like there's a lot I didn't cover.
That's fine, actually. I'm okay with that. There is always going to be stuff that is not coverable within that time frame. But the point is to get as much detail as you can out of get in there, and then justify each individual piece.
Okay.
But you have the reasoning, right? I want to say that you have the discrete steps, right? Or at least, actually do a little bit more with that. Make sure that every single piece here does what it's supposed to do. And that you isolate the responsibility. So you kind of do that, right? Just make sure you complete it. So you're on the right path.
I guess I do have a question.
Yeah.
So after like kind of defining like the high level architecture, I think that's fine. But then like when I start doing like the detailed design, like my goal is first to like kind of like even with the detailed design, my goal is ultimately to kind of solve the problem first and then do deep dives, right?
Yep.
But there could be like instances where the interviewer would like prompt me to like do a deep dive before I'm even done with like the overall design, and like how would I kind of tackle those?
I would have just ignored them, actually. Like the reason why is because I need to know that, hey, I have front end app servers and metadata. Eventually you can just say, hey, let me finish this up and then I'll address the concerns. Because obviously when you do the high level, it gives you like some kind of guiding compass, right? And so they'll start diving into the details, but you don't even know what those details are going to be. You don't even know where to aim. So I would say it's up to you to lead the interview, right? It's a collaborative process. The interviewer isn't like, you're not a dog and you're not on his leash. It's collaborative. It's like you want to get the simple stuff out of the way before you dive into complex shit.
Okay.
That's at least the way I would do it. Think of it like at work. If at work someone says, hey, let's dive into all the complex shit before we know what we're solving, you would tell them to shut the fuck up.
Okay.
So that's the way I see it. But overall, yeah, keep this up. Go hard on the weekend. And I guess make us proud at Uber. You have or for the Uber interview,
Okay, yeah, I'll try my best.
All right. Do you have any other questions?
No.
Right. I'll let you go early. But yeah, good job on the numbers. And yeah, let's do a strong finish, man.
Okay. All right. Talk to you later.
Yeah, talk to you later, man.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, man. So yeah, that was it. So now you know the numbers. 245, L3. Let's actually look at levels.fyi. So keep this number in mind, 243, right? Oh, look at that. We're outside the fucking bands. We're outside the fucking bands here. This is like P99 shit. We're above P99. So, you know, you can get this shit here, man. This is like the third time I've done it. Third time I've gotten someone to break the fucking bands. So, you know, I'm a fucking god. Is R a new grad or does he have some years of experience? He's got 1 year of experience. And I think barely even 1, really. Yeah, 1 year of experience, you can break the fucking bands if you test and do everything right. And you can see here, like, there's no secret. It's just doing the engineering problems fucking well and doing it with the right framework. He's literally being paid pretty much the same as these fucking PhDs here, okay? So, you know, 1 year of experience or versus a PhD. That's all I can fucking say, man. He has 10 months of experience. 10 fucking months of experience, and he can break the fucking bands. He can get paid more than L4s at Facebook or a lot of other places, just as a junior engineer. And you heard from that conversation. Everyone thought he was operating as an L4, but they tested him as an L3. You know, if anything, they recognized that the company lowballed him at the beginning, but you know, obviously everyone respects him enough to be at an L4. Of course, you know, this is him self-reporting, but I have no reason to believe that he lies. And also it's pretty consistent from Amazon and Google. So all that's left, and the offers that he got aren't a lie either. You know, even fucking Amazon was offering this like pretty similar salary comp as well. Yeah. If you look here, basically, he was basically offered like $250K as well for first year, from Amazon. And so all that's left is to show, hey, we can get this not just from Google and Amazon, we can get this from another company as well, and we deserve the up level. So that's what really I'm trying to do for the next 3 days. Again, it doesn't affect what my cut of or my fees are, but it's mostly just for the ego to prove, hey, not only can we get the L3, we deserve an L4. And not only is everybody talking about like we deserve an L4, we can actually get it. That's it. So if anyone here really wants similar results or wants me to coach them, feel free to go to eChanTech.com and apply for long-term coaching. And just as like kind of a quick recap, I did have 2 clients like 3 months ago, but I dropped one because I felt that he wasn't able to give me the time or dedication. I want to work with, if you're thinking about applying, I want you to remember this. I only work with people who are really hungry for that success and are willing to give me 2 months of their life. 6 weeks to 2 months of your life to get insanely high offers, to get up level, to basically change your fucking life. I can make that happen. And my fee, let's talk about fees for a little bit. My fee is just a percentage of your result. You don't succeed, I don't fucking succeed. And in order for me to make this time worthwhile, I need to make sure that your offer is fucking insane. Like $245 for an L3. In my day, that would have been unheard of. The most people anyone would have given would be $210. Like if like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, like when I started out, $210 would have been holy fucking shit, you're a god. Now I can get people to get $245 for an L3. I can get Valid to get like a $350 or $400 or as an L5 at Box. I can get like Pavel to get the 3rd highest L6 offer in his country. So I need people who are working with me to really, really fucking want it. You see here, like once he got the offers, his motivation went downhill, and right now that's what I've been struggling with for the past 4 weeks. You know, we're trying to like fight against that, trying to say, hey, let's go for a very strong finish and get what you deserve. I need someone who's hungry like that. So if you're thinking about applying, make sure you're like that, because you can tell like from all the fucking past sessions, if you watch them, I was hard as shit on all these guys. I don't bullshit around. I'm not fucking here to jerk you off. I'm here to make sure that you get results. So if you feel the same way, you want the fucking results and you're willing to give up whatever for it, hit me up, man. I'll be waiting for your call. So how do you break a ban with startups? Basically, let's go to levels.fyi again. So let's say like startup. I don't know, what's a good startup to do? Affirm, I guess. Like, they only recently IPO'd. So maybe we can go there, overview. I guess Affirm. Let's go back. I'm guessing Affirm is going to be something here. Yeah, I guess you break the band with startups by testing fucking well. That's what I was saying. Like Affirm L5, like what? So like 66K, 230K. What the fuck? Affirm is lowballing as fuck. No, you basically need to, if you want to do well, if you want to break bands in a startup, it's the exact same process. Just test fucking well, negotiate fucking well, and you do that by getting offers from a bunch of other fucking places and throwing them against each other and getting a fucking good ass offer. And you know, this is before we even negotiated. This was just the first offer that he got. This fucking number is just their initial offer to him, which it means this is the low ball. We'll see what the final numbers are, but breaking the band is the fucking low ball here. I've done this before. Like, if you go watch that video of like someone who got the second highest offer at Google, or like her name, like Mona, or I think is her name. She basically, we worked for a while, and she got like second highest scores off possible, right? And she got like, she broke the band as well for the L3. I think her offer was like 220 or something like that. Like she, like at the time it was like very, very fucking high. And this is like for her straight out of school. How the fuck do you score that straight out of school? You know, most people here need like 1 year of experience. Getting this at 0, I think that speaks volumes. So, you you test right, you do it right. Companies are going to throw a lot of fucking money at you for the first offer. Off topic. Does Uber or big orgs consider about open source contributor roles? Do you mean like, I don't know what you're asking, man. Like, are you asking whether or not whether or not these companies consider your contributions to open source software? I don't get it. I don't know what you're asking. Gerald says you're hungry. Let's go. Okay, you can apply on my website, man. eChantech.com. Look for long-term services. Apply on the Google Docs or Google Sheet and a Google form. And then if I think you're a fit, we'll do like an introductory call and we'll see if you're a good fit. Fintech startups, I think they're overhyped right now. Hold up. Fintech. God, I think it's HDI. Hold up, let me. Hold up. Let me look up something. The fuck? Did it just download it? Yeah. So if you guys, this is not the, no, this isn't it. Hold up. Fintech slides. There's a bank out there that produced a presentation on fintech. Do I coach people from other countries? Yeah, I do. Pavel was from Europe, so and I coached him. We just made the time difference work. You just have to make sure that our schedules align, and we can always work that out. Wait, is this KPMG? Is that the one? Oh man, I cannot find the freaking slides. God. Oh yeah, if you just look up like some fintech presentations, like for instance, like I'm Googling it right now, I can't find it for the life of me. But like if you look up financial institution bank or like fintech, there's a lot of there should be a lot of presentations. And one of the slides I remember reading was from like HSBC or, God, I can't remember the name of the bank. It's like a British bank. And you're going to see a lot of presentations here about fintech. Now, the fintechs, yeah, oh, Deloitte, yeah, this one should be pretty good because Deloitte is actually one of the accounting firms, like the big 4 accounting firms. You can see here, like, compound annual growth rate of 11.7%. That's basically as much as Apple. Fintech's prices have outperformed relative to traditional services, blah, blah, blah. If you want to understand the fintech space, you read this. But my evaluation is that too much of it is like forward thinking. So like Square is a company that's in fintech space, and it's grossly overvalued for what it's providing right now. So fintech is hot, but it's like by the time it's hot, it's not. It's already overvalued. So if you're going in it because you like it, I recommend you do it, but maybe make sure that you're getting paid fairly for it, because everyone knows about it, and it's pretty overpriced in my opinion. So your stock options might not be that good. A firm pays much lower than big tech. Might be hard to negotiate then. Yeah, I would not take a job with a firm unless I was getting quadruple the amount of stock options, the stocks. Yeah, a firm is fintech. So basically a firm just said will front the money for purchases. So like, you know what, you might be doing some high ticket purchase, right? It might cost $600, right? Or you can pay with it with a firm for 24 months. I think if I do that on Apple iPhone, there should be an Affirm option. Let me bring that up. Hold up, let me bring that up. Okay, I guess there should have been an Affirm thing for Apple, because I know in the past they used to have this. They used to have like a little Affirm thing with the payment option, actually. Does it? Yeah, so basically the thing is that if you go buy an iPhone or some high ticket item, a firm will finance it for you, and then you pay a firm monthly, like, you know, some amount, like let's say like $200, like $24 a month, right? It's just basically financing for your high ticket purchase, and then you pay like $35, $40 a month to a firm. And so basically what a firm does is they charge a fee on that high ticket item. And so they will basically pay Apple, hey, yeah, I know you're charging $879. We'll front the money for you, but you give us 5% of it as arbitrage, and then the end customer will give us that. So for instance, let's say the total cost of this comes out to be $1,000, right? A firm will give Apple, like, say, okay, we'll give you $950. You let us collect the money, right? So it's not the $1,000 that Apple would collect, but it's to guarantee the sale, right? And so a firm over time would collect that $1,000. So they paid Apple $900. They collected $1,000 from you. So that's what? $100. That's how a firm makes their money. And for startups that do without stocks, I don't know. It's kind of weird for a startup to not give you at least stock options, or at least something to compensate. Because I don't know, like what I don't know what startup can afford to pay you the entire equivalent of a FANG salary in cash. That doesn't exist. They have to give you stock options. Yeah, buy now, pay back later. I'm telling, yeah, exactly. So what they're saying, I'm saying that a firm is the financing for it. They will give Apple the, like, you know, instead of like the full $1,000, they'll give it $900, and then they collect $1,000 from you. It's financing. You got 2 questions. If you want to get coaching from me and you're looking for a couple of final interviews at the moment, how long should I stay in the company before I move? That's irrelevant to the coaching. The coaching is basically, we're looking at basically 2 months of coaching. And so I would say don't leave your company until you get offers in hand. That's it. Is it hard to do full-time uni plus full-time software engineering together? A little hard. It just means that you have no social life. That's basically all it means. And I kind of did the same thing. So the thing is that, like, when I was in school, I did full-time software engineering while going to school full-time. And I basically didn't have much of a social life. And so to compensate, it got to a point where I literally needed to keep working. And so to compensate, I just wouldn't go to class. I would just teach myself. So I'm sure you'll run into the exact same issue when you get there. Gerald says, I'm not sure how a firm business is scalable. Apple could do the same if it already does. Basically, a firm scales by attaching itself to more items. That's it. A firm scales with the amount of capital. It's not a nice scaling, but it will scale. You know, there's like iPhones out there. There is luxury goods out there. Hold up. I think Braille might do a firm. Let's see. Oh yeah, you can do it with the real. Yeah. So let's do this. Like, this is secondhand luxury shit, right? People are trying to sell, right? So let me go to like some random ass LV bag or something like that. Yeah. So let's click this random Louis Vuitton bag or lower, and let's say let's take something interesting like this iPhone 8, right? There should be a firm, right? As low as $11 per month with a firm. You know, this Daimler thing that's now like for an iPhone 8 that no one has, right? It's $112, right? You can just pay for it with a firm. So basically, the way you scale a firm is just attach yourself to more items and more shopping areas, right? And so what that just means is that a firm needs to provide more capital in order to finance these things. So a lot of it just goes into accounts receivable and accounts payable. And so it's money that has to be yet to be collected, but then they need to have the capital in order to actually finance these purchases for the company. So that's basically all it is here. There's an infinite number of items and a lot of websites. So all you have to do is just go to the next one. Go to the next one. It's not a very efficient cost of capital, though. I will say that, but it can grow. The question is, will enough websites sign on with it in order for a firm to collect their fee? I don't know. It's not a bad business. It's just not a great business in the sense that, you know, compared to something like Coca-Cola. And this is gonna be interesting. This is gonna be interesting. Hold up. So okay. So does a firm negotiate with Apple if they bring in more sales? Probably. Like they can say, hey, most of your deals are from a firm. We want to renegotiate the contract. So instead of you giving us 5%, we'll take 7% because otherwise you would get these customers that you otherwise wouldn't. So yeah, a firm can renegotiate the fees. How does it manage though because of conflicts in exam schedule? Basically, go to school during the day, work whenever you can, go home. That's it. It's just, and if you might need to work some weekends, don't get me wrong, but yeah, it's doable. Like with exam schedules, just say you're a student. Everyone understands that. Everyone understands that you have tests to study for. And if you give the heads up, they will traditionally just say, hey, yeah, okay, cool. Just give us a 2 weeks heads up when you got an exam coming up. They'll be happy to accommodate. Does these orgs consider open source contributors who would contribute to open source salt? Yeah, it's a brownie point on your resume. And I think that, but more so what they want to see is like your ability to take on projects and lead them to completion and success, and the scope of the projects themselves. Liam asks if they have an Amazon interview in 1 week and Google in 2 weeks. Can I do an accelerated long-term coaching option? No. Basically, the problem with that is that you're asking me to compress 2 months of work into 2 weeks. Not doable. So basically, I would say you can book a one-off coaching session if you want, Liam, but it won't be possible to do long-term for that. It's impossible for me to go from nothing to 100% or even 80% in that short amount of time. I could probably manage if it's 4 weeks, but yeah, no. If you are interested in long-term coaching, I would punt your interviews to about 2 to 3 months out from now. And then contact me for long-term coaching. Just send me an email directly and then tell me why you think you're a good fit. You know, I gave you that whole spiel of like, hey, I want people who are really hungry and really desperate to succeed. And you give me a message about why that's the case for you. But I think that for these interviews, you can punt them out. Like a lot of these recruiters want you at your best, right? And you don't feel like you're going to be at your best during that time. They'll be lenient and reschedule you. So hold up, guys. I'm going to get some more water, but I want to do a little talk about like the brand of Coca-Cola and why it's good. So let me actually bring up the financials, the Consolidated financial. Where the fuck is it? Hold up. Where is the table of contents? Forward-looking statements, blah, blah, blah. Financial statements. Great. Page 63. Great. Here's the balance sheet, net income, net balance sheet, subsidiaries, cash flows. Okay, yeah, cash flow statement. Great. So I want you guys to take a look at this. While I'm out getting some water, give me like 1 or 2 minutes and then maybe like a small snack. This is the cash flow statement. I want you to actually take a look at this and tell me and put in the chat what you guys see here as like the positive, negative. Keep in mind, everyone knows Coca-Cola, but I want you to look at the numbers, do some math, and try and figure out what makes this good. So, Smith says, he's looking at my resume, and that I was born in Hong Kong. Nah, I was born in the U.S., dude. I was born in the U.S. I just happened to have a job in Hong Kong for a summer, because I wanted to visit my grandparents that year, and so I knew I needed internship experience. So I just kind of reached out to Hong Kong Technology Park and just like kind of asked around, like, hey, does anyone have any internships there? You know, and I just kind of had it. I got one there. So, and at the time, that paid me $4 an hour. Yeah. So I wasn't born with a fucking silver spoon in my mouth and a golden fork up my ass, man. I literally, my first year of like starting out, I worked for a startup for $0 fucking dollars. It was like I was paying. It's like I just said, hey, I want to build you guys' app. I want to learn from this business. And you know, free labor for to learn. Yep. I think that is a company called Yifty. And I think they taught me a lot about customer service, actually. Lori was head of customer service, and she did a phenomenal job at like I guess ingraining in me like how I should treat the customers and how I should think about them. And then, you know, I moved on from there. Next summer, I worked at Hong Kong Technology Park, $4 an hour. You know, I think I accumulated over like maybe about 1,000 hours of work that entire time. So $4,000 for just the entire. Yeah, wait, no, is that right? Hold up, 3 months of work. Excuse me, 3 months of work, 40 hours a. 3 months of work, 40 hours a week, times 12 weeks. Yeah, so I basically accumulated like a little over 1,000. No, and then multiplied by $4 an hour. I want to say, yeah, I want to say like basically about like $4,000, about $4,000 after taxes, or a little bit less than that actually, for one summer of work. You know, I wasn't, so it's like, it's a long fucking road for me. And then even during school, like when I was in UCSD, I was working for below minimum wage as well. Like I think I only got like $1,000 a month, at best, and whenever there was work. And that basically that all went to my rent and then my food. So yeah, rent back then was like $550. And then I had like $200 on food. So that gave me $150, and then after like, that gave me $150, $20 for like power bill and internet. Basically that's $75 extra a month, you know? And that could have gone to anything. And that's just like living expenses, right? That's before my fucking book fees. That's before my like school fees as well. So, yeah. So it's all about like investing in yourself. At the beginning, you shouldn't give a fuck whether or not you're making like $1,000 a month or $1,000 a week on an internship. It's about investing in yourself and making sure you're learning something new. What's the label on the top left? Can you maybe move your cam to the bot left? Oh, shit. Yeah, sorry. My bad. So let me actually go ahead and run through the numbers with you. I'm sorry about that. So let's look at this fucking financial statement here. Let me move my fucking camera to the top right. Yeah? Sorry about that. So let's look at the balance sheet. I think people are kind of like interesting. So look at this net income. What do you notice? Like basically, if you basically look at every single year before this, like not just like 2018, 2019, you'll see like net income basically just kind of improves over time. Like the only reason we have 2020 dip here is because of COVID, right? But I guarantee you, if you look at the income for our net income for every single year, it would have just gone up. Great. We want something that like goes up really, really quickly, right? And that goes up consistently as well. And if you notice here, like the cash equivalents even go up in the COVID fucking years. That's great. Dividends, their dividends go up every year, so it's fine. You know, it's just issuance of debt, and paying back the the shareholders. So even during COVID time and making sure that they are actually doing shit and to make sure that everyone's whole, fantastic. That means that they're very, very, they take care of their shareholders. A lot of companies could just easily say, oh yeah, we had a shit year, we're not paying you a dividend, but the fact is that they don't give a fuck. And they're fucking Coca-Cola, they made lots of investments, I guess net losses. But the thing is that what you need to understand about Coca-Cola is that they ship the fucking syrup, right? And then the bottlers in each of these countries are responsible for producing the cans and then distributing it through the country. So what Coca-Cola does is say you have a 25-cent can, right? 2 cents out of that 25-cent can goes to Coca-Cola for the syrup. Then another 2-3 cents goes to the bottlers for the making the glass, and then shipping that shit out. But then the rest of the profit goes to whoever's selling it, right? So it goes to whoever is on the store floor selling that thing for 25 cents. And so basically what this means is that there's a very high return on assets, or a high return on capital for Coca-Cola. So that's why you look at here, like they don't actually have that much inventory. How the fuck can they be growing all their growing all this revenue when their fucking inventory is nothing, right? You would think that a company like Coca-Cola would be shipping out and manufacturing all these cans, right? So you would see this inventory go up over time, but you really don't, actually. And that's the whole reason why. The inventory is mostly just making the fucking syrup. And so that's why like Coca-Cola is like insanely fucking good. It's that they're not responsible for the materials. They're just responsible for one part, the syrup, which is essentially just fucking soda, water, and sugar, right? And later on, what they realized was, hey, well, I don't need to ship the water. Every other place has water. I don't need to ship the sugar. Everywhere has sugar. All they're really selling is like fucking syrup. So that's basically why like they're basically a software company in that regard. They're just shipping like a bunch of spices. And then that everyone else is responsible for like a fucking drink. Like if you look at some fucking like, I don't know, like the beer, right? It's like if you broke it down to like sugar, water, and fucking whatever little syrup or like secret sauce is in there, they're just selling the fucking secret sauce. 90% of it is water, and the fucking bottlers are responsible for that. So they can ship this shit like no one's smarter, And will there be people drinking this shit like 20, 30 years from now? Of course, yeah. So this is a fucking great business to be in. It's basically like investing in a tech company. Any hot startups that I think that you can grow by a lot, which are interesting to join? Honestly, it's if you're talking about what the engineering side of me is saying, I would say that it's hard because the startups nowadays are just basically cash grabs. It's hard for me to say. Like, I think the one I can give a benefit to would be, hold up, what's his name? So you look at perf.dev. I think this one's great because this guy was started by a former staff engineer at Uber. This guy I think you vouch for it because he's very smart, very technically knowledgeable. I think this is probably one that you want to look at because these guys are very much dedicated to the tech work. And basically what this company does is that they allow you to test your fucking app across a bunch of different devices. And they give you like feedback on the performance of that app. And so this is a very, very technical problem because essentially you're talking about a device farm that can give you that can measure the latency of like the screen refreshes and your app performance, and then give you a consolidated report for that. I think this is actually a very good business. Now, is it whether or not it's scalable and how much people are willing to pay for it? I don't know if it's $1 billion business. It's just basic contracting work, but it is a good business to be in, I think, and there's a lot of engineering value. So if you want to learn something, I think this is like a very good company to look at. Starts that we're likely to IPO. I don't know. Does Pepsi take the same approach? Actually, I don't know much about Pepsi as a business. I know mostly about Coca-Cola because this is like one of the... if you look at Berkshire Hathaway, one of their biggest positions is in Coke. And they bought this position in 1987. And they've never fucking sold it. Never sold a dime. Never sold a share. And the reason why is because at the time, they knew the fair market value of Coke was in 1987, right? They knew it, and remember 1987? Well, maybe some of you don't. There was like the black market crash, right? Where Coke just like literally dropped from fucking $45 at the time to like $30. But the thing is, nothing fundamentally changed about the company. So why not buy it at that price? It was a fair market value at the time. It was like dearly overpriced, but they understood the value of Coke. They understood the value of the brand. It was basically guaranteed to grow 9% per year, and it's pretty much done that ever since. Cloud Kitchen, yeah. So basically, Cloud Kitchen just creates these ghost kitchens, and they basically create these centers, or should I say, they provide a service where it's a restaurant without a table or a chair or without the real estate. It's basically restaurants that can operate through food delivery. That's basically what Cloud Kitchen is. The problem with Cloud Kitchen, I think it's good. I think it's a pretty interesting business. I think there is a real need, But the problem is that these restaurants don't exist. So you're forced to deliver through food apps or like set up these hubs in which there are multiple businesses. So it can scale, but only scales so far, And not to mention, the quality of food goes down. So think of it this way. Let's say I'm a Chinese restaurant, right? And then I sign up through Cloud Kitchen to operate a hamburger joint. What Cloud Kitchen will do is send me the recipes, right? And so I can use the ingredients on hand to create these recipes for them and then ship that shit out. It's basically what Mr. Beast Burger does, actually. But the problem is that the quality of the food is not gonna be that great. I mean, you know what I mean? Like what kind of fucking quality can you expect from a Chinese restaurant to make a quality hamburger? Probably not much. But, if the end consumer doesn't fucking care or just wants a fucking burger, then they'll order it anyway. So my problem with it is that it's scalable to a limited degree. At some point, you're basically talking about making a food factory. So it's an interesting business. I think that they've poached. I think they poached a lot of people from Uber, because Travis Kalanick, the guy who started it, was also the guy who started Uber. So my point here is that it's almost dependent on food delivery, or if food delivery dies, then they'll have to create these hubs themselves. So it's a hard business to value. I think part of it would be valuing it based on like the longevity of these food apps delivery businesses. So it's like a bet on every single food app delivery, like Grubhub and everything else. It's also a bet on real estate as well, and the capacity for these for Cloud Kitchen to keep setting up these restaurants with these recipes and to create these hubs. It's not bad, but it's not a business I would be able to tell you it's going to succeed or not. It's got a good chance. Don't get me wrong, and I think that if you like the space, it's not a bad place to start. But it's not a company I can feel particularly passionate about. Yeah. So I guess like with that, I've kind of like streamed for almost 2 hours now. I'm gonna stop it for now because I need to go eat dinner. But you know what? Thank you guys for joining me. Hopefully you guys learned a little bit about investing. Hopefully you guys liked the result that we got with R for his Google offer. This is probably gonna be the last stream for a while. I am looking for other candidates. So if you think you might be a candidate for, for wanting to sign up for coaching, let me know. Send me a message or sign up through the form. We can stream. I'll stream at another date, but usually when I have another client. So I'll let you know when that is. In order to know, follow me on my socials, my Discord. I'm usually very active there. My Twitter, and I'll tweet out when my next stream is gonna be. And if you guys want some interview coaching or just sign up for a one-off session, you can book me for interview coaching at echandeck.com. Other than that, thank you all. Have a good night, and I'll see you another time.